Hi, everyone. I'm really glad you're here. How are you? Nice to see you, Joe and Patricia, Colette, Elise, and of course, Janine. Nice to see you. Good. Hi, Sherry Lou. We'll just hang out for just a couple minutes while everyone joins us. Hi, MDIL and Caroline. Nice to see you. Hi, Alicia. Aloha. I'm here in the United States. I'm in Kentucky right now. I have a lot to share with you. Definitely picking up a lot of energetics. It's good to be here so that I can dip my toes in what's happening to the US at the moment. And it's, of course, as usual, nothing's personal. We're going to take the personal to the universal. And boy, I've had a lot of weird personal experiences I'm going to share. So it just has been nonstop since I've arrived in the US. Hi, Kathleen and Ida and Flower and Lisa and Victoria. Hi, Carrie. Nice to see you. Good. Good. So as people are coming in to join us, it's going to be an interesting talk today because I'm going to share with you some dreams I've had. And hi, Rebecca. Hi, Julie. Hello, everyone. Hi, Diane. So I'm going to share with you some dreams that I've had while I've been here in the United States, because the dream world, of course, is just as valid and a very important place to do work. And I am no exception. I'm sure many of you, too, also have wild dreams, especially lately. So we have quite the energetics here in the United States, very different than where I was in Ecuador. But at the same time, there's a universal attribute to it. There's a lot of energetic that's kind of pushing down on everybody. And the dream world is really important right now. So I want you to pay really close attention to your dreams. We just got through a big full moon eclipse. And no doubt, there's been some things unfolding in your life that will help us all relate to each other and take that personal experience to the universal level that we're capable of. So I'm also really glad you're here, Ida, and Sator, nice to see you. And Lucretia, of course, and Becky, and Kathy, thank you. Okay, good. So we have all these beautiful souls. I can feel you. And I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you so much for coming, because we get to talk about what's happening, what is going on this month. Oh my goodness. So let's jump right in. I want to tell you what happened to me because it denotes what is going on in the world, the personal to the universal. There is no personal experience on the spiritual path. You end up realizing it's all source, your source. And what I've learned in the past few weeks has been no different at all. So really validating that you are a universal being right now. So I got here to the US, no problem, get into where I was going to stay, and I end up getting bit by a spider. And by golly, I have never been bit by a spider before, and it bit me on my foot, and I couldn't walk for 2 days, so yay. And then I picked up my cat and got the worst poison ivy I've ever had. It's finally going away. It took almost 3 weeks, all over my body, all at the same time, right? And then you'd think that was enough. Nope. This is what's happening. Bam, bam, bam. These waves, these cross waves, like we talked about last month and the month before, we get these little breaks, and they're short. They're short. These little breaks between waves of consciousness. They're like a few days where you're like, oh, phew, I get a break. And then it starts coming again, and it's cross waves now. So a spider bite and poison ivy. And then I walk into my house that I had left really, really nice. I got a renter in that I thought was going to be a good renter, and she had trashed my house to the T, every corner. And I don't want to get into the details of it, but I walked into the exact opposite energy that I had intended to sustain for that home while I was gone in Ecuador, deciding if we were going to sell the house or not. And I came into this, what was my home, and discovered it was the exact opposite as how I'd left it, right? So very upsetting, right? Could probably get really angry about these things. I wrote a few hate letters in my head. I've got ego. But, as I was going through cleaning up the corners of this person's mind, your environment reflects your mind, okay? I started to realize this is someone who, in a circle, would be on the other side, would be on the opposite of me. So I'm on a spiritual path. I keep my surroundings very impeccable. I try to keep my embodiment clean so that I'm eating cleanly. I'm not trying to eat any processed foods, which is hard to do when you're in the United States. Seeing the comparative, I don't eat any processed foods in Ecuador. They're not as easily readily available. And here, it's more available. So when you go out to eat or whatever, there's so much more salt and sugar and fat than normal. So that affecting me too, noticing that food thing, but realizing this person in the circle of consciousness, there is always someone opposite of you. It doesn't matter where you sit in that circle. You could be enlightened, fully awake, right? And there's going to be someone exact opposite of you in consciousness, always. This is how it works. It's necessary for the awake to also have the unawakened around them. This is important. And that's what we're looking at right now. So I'm cleaning up this person's mind, what she left. The opposite of me in the circle of consciousness. And I realized, oh my goodness, I have compassion for this person right now. She knows not what she does. She knows not what she says. She knows nothing of the true path of consciousness. She knows nothing of unconditional love. And I started to get more and more sad for her and more compassion for her, right? At first I was, to be fairly honest, pretty livid. It's like, come on. I'm trying to sell my house and I walk into a wreck, beyond a wreck. It was toxic, spiritually, mentally, physically, and emotionally toxic. And then I had to go through my storage room. So we get the whole house all nice and fixed up. And just so you're aware of the wild process we went through, we got it from 0 to 100. Drew and I worked really hard, my husband. We have worked over 100 man hours to get the house back into sellable shape. And it looks completely different. We elevated the energy. We got it to where our energy was. And by the end, we had deep compassion for this person, which is such a blessing in the end. But then I had to go through my storage room. Now, I filled that storage room up in quite the delirium because we were in a rush. I had zero sleep. And we filled that storage room up 6 months ago. Well, my friends, the changes that can happen in your consciousness in 6 months is mind-blowing. Because I had to face myself as an unawakened person. I thought I was awake. Then I'm going through my storage room and I'm like, why am I keeping any of this? 90% of this I don't need. It's junk. I've been shocked at myself and saying, wow, I'm not so much different than the person who might be opposite of me in the circle of consciousness. And honoring and having compassion for that part of me 6 months ago who left for Ecuador, not knowing what to expect and not trying not to have any expectations, and jumped in not only to a double vortex of Vilcabamba, Ecuador, but the enlightened field of my teacher at the same time, choosing to go through the blender, choosing to rip apart my ego, not gently, and then watching how now this consciousness of Elizabeth has changed so much. So this is what's happening right now. What is in the basement of your mind? What's in the basement of your mind? You don't need to have a physical storage room to go through. You need to face this part of yourself. Let me teach you a quick technique on how to get into that basement. And you have to be brave with this. You need to have an emotional processing technique to handle this, okay? I call it psychic processing because we go into the subconscious. But you need to be able to welcome and emotionally process what you find down there, just like going through a house that's been trashed. You know, I like to talk about the human body as a temple of light, as a house, right? And I always tell you, your house, when you woke up in your house, it was already full of trash bags. This is what we're dealing with. You're doing the same thing I did in the physical, but here's the good news. The work that you can do in 100 woman or man hours, the same as what Drew and I were doing. The work that you can do on your consciousness can be done faster and more impeccably than ever before. Than 6 months ago, than a year ago. Don't stop working at this. You can get your temple impeccable in a very short time. Take advantage of it now. There is the energy there to carry you. Yes, it feels insane. It feels like spider bites and poison ivy and craziness. It does. That's because there's two different waves hitting each other at the same time. And it's just a big chaotic, bubbly mess. That's how it feels, right? But this is a chance. This is an opportunity. As all moments in consciousness are, but this one, this is the one you came for. At no time did I feel victimized. Because I co-created the situation. I'm the one who put the tenant into the house. I didn't do my due diligence and all this deposit stuff and all these things I should have done. And I didn't listen to the people around me who have more experience than me because of arrogance, because of worthlessness. It all falls back on me as a creator being. And I created this situation for my consciousness. Therefore, I am not a victim of what this person left. I co-created it with her in order to make sure I got the memo about what is going on right now. Not 6 months ago, right now. We can't act in the past or the future. We can only act now. This is where all the action is, in the moment. And so here's this technique. It's called psychic processing, but I like to say, it's how you access your basement. How do you get through your basement, the subconscious? You ask. Like so much of spiritual work, it really is up to you to ask for this information. So you ask your subconscious, and don't take a bunch of time doing it. Get a little journal, and it'll be your subconscious basement journal. And you say, subconscious, what do you need me to see right now? What's ready to go right now? Just whatever's in front of you. My storage room was so packed that you couldn't get through to the back of it. You could only get through the stuff in the front. Right? It's the same. And so you just ask, and you're going to get random stuff. Just do stream of thought, one word or a couple word descriptions of what you're perceiving. And it's going to be random things. It's going to be dreams and fantasies and false memories and real memories and your hamster from when you were 7 and a pink dragon and crazy, horrible, dark stuff. Maybe even past life things. But just write it down for 1 minute and then stop, because you're going to get plenty of juice right there to process. And if you're willing to process whatever shows up on that list that day, so you do that, then you do some emotional processing on this, right? And then you meditate. That's the equation. You got to meditate. Don't stop. In fact, especially when you're feeling the 2 waves coming in and just making everything nuts, meditate, ground yourself. The earth isn't going anywhere. She's holding you. You've always been held. You're not alone. You're not alone. The earth is waiting for you to remember that she's got you. Like Richard Rudd told me on the last interview we had, he said, the earth is always there to catch you when you fall. And that's the case. So you're being held. And she wants to elevate you. No matter what's going on with the waves of consciousness, she's got you. She's going to keep elevating you, right? So here we go through these things. And there is nothing 3D about it. It's very much 3D and all dimensions combined, especially as you recognize yourself as a creator of this. There is no victimization. You're creating it too, for a reason. You're reading the book of you. You're reading the book of Lisa or Mary or Joe. You're reading the book of you. I'm reading the book of Elizabeth. I'm not Elizabeth. I'm reading the book of Elizabeth. That's what it looks like in the 3D, is that I'm Elizabeth. That's not real. That's only part of reality. So let me tell you one of the dreams I had. I'm going to share with you 2 of them. And they are relevant to where we're at right now, which is why I think I had them in the past week. It was so that we could talk about them. So the first one is actually the last one I had. It was last night, or the night before last. So it was a past life, actually. And this is something that I want you to think about and to sit with, because this is why you're here. You're here at the crossroads, the end of a paradigm. You came at a really interesting time in consciousness. Not only is it the end of the paradigm, but it's the end of the whole experiment that was running all the other paradigms before. So it's a double ending and a double beginning. Now we enter into a non-experiment until we decide as co-creators, you and I, what that whole next experiment will be. We haven't decided that yet. We're not ready yet to make that decision, but it's coming. And this is for those of you who feel that your voice is not heard. I want you to hear this dream. Those of you who feel shut down and not heard by either friends, family, whatever, partners, the society around you. And so I dreamt a past life that I had not remembered before. And as you process and clean up your subconscious, as you clean up your basement or your trashed house, the house of you, the house of yourself, that you're going to remember more. And it'll either come through dreams or it'll come through moments, a deja vu, a lot of different ways. Well, I dreamt of a life in Japan where I was very wealthy. I don't know exactly what time this was. It could be extremely ancient or not so ancient. I'm not really sure. But I was very, very wealthy, and I was lobbying with my wealth to convince the government to stop building housing, cheap housing on the sea and on the sea cliffs. And I told them a tsunami is coming. Does that sound familiar? A tsunami is coming. It's going to kill a lot of people. If you keep building on the beaches, if you keep building on the sea cliffs, all those people are going to die. You need to stop. And I spent every waking hour concerned about this. Even with my power and wealth, no one would listen to me. And here I am in a hotel on a mountainside on the top floor. Below me, I can see the city built all the way up to the edge of the water, built along and on the sea cliffs. The sun is rising in the east. It's very beautiful. And my assistant is in front of me. And I'm talking to her. It's really early dawn. I'm talking to her, and we're planning more and more lobbying to go and try to be heard. A tsunami is coming. The end of a paradigm is coming. Don't let all these people die if you don't have to. I'm speaking to the government, you can help them. You can stop this. But they wouldn't. They refused to hear me. But I was no less passionate no matter what. So I'm speaking to my assistant. I've got my back to the windows. And suddenly her eyes get really big. And everything happened in a split second, but it was as if it was happening in real life. My dreams are very real. I can taste, smell, touch. And this is normal and mystical dreaming. So her eyes get really big and she's full of terror. And I turn around. And the first thing my brain thinks is, why is the water of the ocean splashing against the window? And then the second thing I realize is the whole city is under 10,000 feet of water. And then the water comes up and fills the window and it crashes the window, comes through, takes my whole living room and my assistant with it. And I'm holding on to a beam as it takes everything out. And my brain says, look how beautiful it is, because it's all orange. The whole thing is all orange, bright from the sun. But then my mind again remembers all of these people are gone all at once. We didn't even hear it coming. It happened so fast. An entire city snuffed out in a matter of seconds. Underneath me, under 10,000 feet of water as it subsides back into the Pacific. And it affected me really deeply yesterday. I was crying a lot about it because I realized this is what it feels like at the end of an era, at the end of a paradigm. There's so many souls that check out all at once. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a checkout time for those who would like to come back in better bodies, really, is what's going to happen. And this is for those of us, of course, when we speak of past lives, doesn't always resonate with folks. So you don't have to believe in reincarnation. I happen to scientifically and spiritually believe it's quite fully 100% true. But many people have only one life. That's where that whole concept came from. So don't worry if this doesn't ring true around any sort of reincarnation stuff, okay? Just know that this is sort of an illustration of where we're at. Many, many beings checking out all at once. You need to be able to be sad about this. We can't just be aloof and say, oh, this is going to be, important for all these souls. They'll do their thing. They'll get to go home and have a little vacation with Source, and then they get to come back. No, that's not realistic. We need to be able to grieve. Not all of us are choosing to check out. I'm not. But I'm going to be, and I remain, allowing grief to move through. Not to get trapped, not to wallow in it. Don't wallow in grief. Let it move through you. The end of a paradigm is hard. It's okay to acknowledge the humanness of this loss. And to acknowledge how frustrating it is when you try to speak and no one listens. It's because it's not their chance, not their time, not their moment to get that concept. It's not up to you. You're in charge of your book. And in your book, you need to be able to allow yourself to be sad about this stuff. To be sad about the end of a paradigm and the beginning of something new. And to be happy about the positives as well. Don't keep yourself from feeling the full spectrum of feelings. Everything from anger to grief to joy to surprise. This is your emotional body. This is one of the greatest navigating tools of consciousness ever made. Don't deny yourself your feelings right now. Okay, so then we have the second dream, which was a little earlier. This has to do with where we're all at. Those who are choosing to stick through the changes that are coming. Have there been 10,000-foot high tsunamis? Yes. Yes. Why? Because every 13,000 years, there's a sun cycle, and there's going to be a mini nova. Proxima Centauri just had its second one. It's the sun's starting to act up right now. And in the next few years, we're going to have one too. These cause all kinds of things, pole flips and you name it. It's all very, very well documented information. My favorite person who talks about the science of this, and he combines many branches into one, is Ben Davidson at Suspicious Observers. I follow him every day, and he's a genius. He's absolutely pulled all together from a purely scientific viewpoint. If you want to know what's coming, how to prepare for it, what's going on with the sea and the sun and electromagnetics and the galaxy, because it's a galactic event we're talking about. If you want to know about all that and how it works, it's really good to know because it helps you to prepare properly. Now, many of you know I come from a prepper family. My father that was literally his job in the U.S. military, and of course now is his job too. So preparedness and safety. And a lot of times when people are thinking about disasters, it makes them really depressed and scared because they haven't been taught that preparedness is meant to help you feel stable and secure. Instead, they end up leaking energy into the future, worrying about whatever crazy event might happen or might not happen. A lot of times you're remembering stuff like 10,000 foot tall tsunamis and stuff that you've seen and been through. My husband's been through one in a different life. He remembers it well. He has dreams about it often. And I bet you it was probably the same one that I dreamt about. So these things are available in consciousness to learn from. And our ancestors left clues about all these things. Every 13,000 years, a big, huge change happens. What happened during the last one? The fall of Egypt and the beginning of the patriarchy, which we all co-created. And now that's the end of it. That was the biggest push we had in the ending of our experiment to understand power over dynamics. Now all that's ended, including the experiment, we're going into a paradigm now which is not like that at all. It's based in merit. It's based in egalitarianism. It's not what you're seeing get played out at the moment with systems, which is more top-down stuff that doesn't work. That's the last squeal of the patriarchy, of the oligarchy, as they try to do their top-down approach again, the one-size-fits-all again. It doesn't work. It never has, because that's not how humans function. We function from the bottom up, from the individual's merit up. That's how we function. We've got to really think about that from here on, because those who are going to go through all of this and make it through to work on themselves enough to become Homo luminous, a different species, which is why many seers can't see past these events. That's because we're not going to be the same species. We're talking about punctuated equilibrium in evolution that we're facing right now. It's awesome. It is so awesome. This is what I've dreamed of my whole existence. And we're doing it together. You and I, we're doing this together. So let me tell you this other dream, because it was really interesting. It was about the end of this paradigm. And it gives us some clues about what we can do. So I end up in this dream, again, extremely realistic. They're like movies, but I'm living them. So I get invited to take part in this ashram in India with a guru. And he's classic. He's classic. He's like, super thin, East Indian man wearing his white loin cloth, and he's, got the long hair, and he looks just like the most classic, awesome guru, big old beard. And he's got his 2 students. And I get invited to go through a series of tests. And I pass all the tests with flying colors, and they invite me to come and be at the ashram and study with this guru. So I leave my family behind with their blessing to come and join this guru at the ashram. And they don't really know what to do with me. I don't quite fit in. I'm this Western woman, can't speak Hindi. I'm just really the oddball out. And so they set me up in this, what used to be a temple, but it's now a storage room. Your first clue. It used to be a temple, but now it's a storage room. I'm on the top floor of this temple storage room. I mean, it's got like furniture and desks and it's just whatever. They throw a bed in there, and there's my place to sleep, right? I'm at the top. Some days go by and it's all cool. We're doing puja, we're talking with the guru and asking questions. And I start to perceive that the two top students of this guru, hate each other. They hate each other. They are in a rivalry for power. Sound familiar? And the guru is a bit clueless about it. He's like, whatever. And I'm like wondering, why is there this weird rivalry between these two? Like, they really should be working together, because there's a lot to do. There's a lot of students here, and they're doing their jobs, but it's constant, this energy of rivalry. That's what we've been told to do. We've been told to compete with each other, haven't we? That's what that was representing. Compete for power. And then the clueless leader who just is aloof, not really grounded, not really present. Right? So I start to hear rumors about this object that they're trying to find. And then I hear, oh, it's not an object, it's actually a set of papers. It's like a whole set of scrolls that have all this mystical information, and they want it. They want it really bad, and they can't find it, and they haven't been able to get any information out of the guru. All these years and years and years, they've dedicated their lives to this work. They couldn't get any info from this guru about it. He was zipped. He's like, if it's meant to be found by you, it will be found. I'm not giving you any information, right? And I'm like trying to find out more about this stuff they're trying to find. Like, is it like treasure? What is it? No, it's information. And it's not from Earth. So that's all I could get. Well, one night, this huge storm comes in, monsoon storm, hasn't rained in a really long time. There ends up being a leak in my storage room area that I'm sleeping in, a leak that's running down the wall in front of me. So here's my bed, and here's this wall. And if we flip it and you're looking at the wall, there's these 3 pillars that were holding up the building, and it's just 2 stories. And so there's this leak going down the front of this middle pillar down into the bottom floor. It's quite dark, so I've got candlelight, and I go down to see how it's going with the leak on the 2nd floor. And I'm watching this water hit this pillar in front of me, and the pillar's starting to disintegrate. And I'm like, oh boy, this is not good. And then I'm like, wait a second. This isn't a real pillar. This is made of plaster. This isn't real. This is fake. The other 2 pillars are real, and they're holding the building up, but this is not real. I'm watching it, and the water's running down, and it's starting to disintegrate, and I'm wondering what's going to happen, and all this is happening quite fast, and all this water pours through, and this thing just disintegrates before my eyes. And I reach up, and out falls this package from the top of this pillar. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm holding this package, and I'm like, by golly, I think this is what they've been searching for. I can't recognize the writing. It looks very otherworldly. It was actually Pleiadian writing. So I'm kind of going through it, and then I touch this little object. It's about the size of like a silver dollar. It's very beautiful. It's like rainbow colors, and I touch it, and suddenly it turns into a little transparent egg. It's not really an egg. It was just transparent. It was egg-shaped. And it responded to my touch. And it was from another world. It was a different kind of technology, a biological tech from the Pleiadians. I thought, wow, this is so beautiful. Look how gorgeous this is. And when I touched it again, it collapsed again into a little flat silver dollar rainbow shape. And I thought, my goodness, this is amazing. So I sit and kind of look through it, and I'm like, I already know all this stuff. Like, I couldn't read it, but I knew all of what was in this satchel of scrolls. I already knew what galactic information was being stored in this. And it was everything from healing to tech to consciousness to language and frequency, all these different things that I already knew. So the next day, I get summoned by the guru. No one knows what's happened that night. And the guru, he brings me up in front of his two main students and the whole school. So there's like 300, 400 people there. And I don't feel nervous at all. I'm pretty sure I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get kicked out because I just don't fit in. So I'm preparing myself to be publicly kicked out and to do it gracefully and move on. And I've got this satchel like under my shawl or something like that. So I'm sitting in front of the guru and he says, Elizabeth, I'm sorry, we're going to ask you to leave. You don't belong here. And I said, I totally understand. I agree with you. I would like to know, what exactly do you see about me that makes it that I don't belong exactly? I'm just curious. How do you know I don't belong? And he said, because you're not Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a mask you wear. I said, but I passed all these tests. And he said, yeah, you did. The mask you wear got you through all of those tests. The Elizabeth mask got you through these tests and brought you here. And I said, I know I'm not Elizabeth. And the guru said, that's why you don't belong. Everyone here doesn't know that they are not the mask they wear. And his two students look at me, look at the guru, and they're like, what? How's this Western white chick? How's she? You're saying she's more advanced than us? And the guru's like, you all think you're competing for advancement? That's not what is happening here. You're still lost. You still think that you are the body you're wearing. And I start to realize the guru, he has a point. That when you think that you are the human body you are, you're going to fall into the usual human traps of competition and, boy, I hate that lady who trashed my house, or I don't like that unawakened whatever person and everything they post on whatever social media. You fall into that trap. That's the trap, the matrix trap, that makes you think that you are your body and the life that you live. So the guru and I were on the same page. And at that point, I chose to take out this satchel. And I set it in front of the guru, and he's very surprised. And I looked at both of the students and I said, this is what you've been searching for. You've been wondering where it was, and yet it came into the hands at the exact divine timing moment of the person that you dislike the most. The random Western young chick who just showed up and happened to pass all the tests, and you put her in the storage room that was a temple, and guess what? It's still a temple, whether you put storage in there or not. And you never saw that pillar was fake. The patriarchy wasn't real. And when it dissolves, you will see the truth. The galactic playing field of reality. And I said it in front of the guru and I said, I don't need this because I already know what's in this. I don't have to know the language to know that I already know what's in this. And no, I am not Elizabeth. I am something very different than Elizabeth. And the faces of these two students who have finally realized that this is the moment they've been waiting for, not to discover the satchel and all the ancient secret wisdom before the next person, but to actually be shown their true self through the most unexpected and most unusual situation possible. And now, in that moment, they understood they are not their bodies, they are not their histories, they are not their competition, they are not the game being won, that we are one. And that was what they had been waiting for, that moment. And this is the moment. We're in it now. So I'm setting it in front of you. Galactic wisdom. You already know this. You don't need to read this. You're not going to find it where you think you're going to find it. It's going to come at the exact divine moment when the rain is really hard and the storm is pounding down and the illusions dissolve around you. That's where we're at right now. You are not your body. You are not the name that you have right now. I am not Elizabeth. I am in the Library of Consciousness reading this book called Elizabeth's Life, where she shares a dream she had to 140 people about what is happening in reality right now. And I'm reading that book right now. Who am I? I'm a being of light. I'm immortal. I come from only one place, the same place you come from, Source. And Source moves through love to become illumination, luminosity, and in luminosity's fascination with the universe have I discovered this interesting life called being Elizabeth, where I can advance the wisdom and knowledge of Source and all beings who come from Source a little bit at a time, but only ever in divine timing can this be done. This is your chance to be finished with the power over paradigm. Let the illusions dissolve as the rain pounds down. The rain of the top down, the rain as in like a king or queen, right? The rain of the top down is crumbling. The false walls, the fake pillars, which were all hiding the truth. And when you get that truth right in front of you, you're like, I already know this. That's your true self. And we are often so afraid to know. We're very afraid to know what we really know. We're afraid to remember the 10,000 foot tall tsunamis. We're afraid to remember the last time the paradigm fell. We're afraid to remember when we created, you and I, the patriarchy. That's normal. It's okay to be afraid. Let it move through you. Don't wallow in it. Don't let it take over and define your reality all the time. That's just you getting into the book a little too much, thinking that it's real. And, this is daily life stuff. Then I wake up from a dream like that and I got to go clean up some more dog poop. That's exactly the book I'm reading. It's the mundane and it's the magical, it's the mysterious and the messed up. And that's where we're at right now, as these waves of consciousness come from all directions to create what feels like chaos. And then as it pulls out, you get a reprieve to take a look at how clear reality is. Blinding clarity. I've talked about it over the past few months. And this is the kind of blinding clarity that's at your fingertips. Ask right now from your heart, Source, show me some of the reality that I'm being asked to remember right now in my dreams, like Elizabeth. Show me through my dreams, show me through vision. Allow me to mystically dream the next steps. Your soul is giving you that information. Don't resist. Resistance is what will keep you in a state of not being able to move forward. Don't resist. If you resist, you'll get stuck in that storage room and keep believing it's a storage room instead of it being a temple. My house, even though it was trash, didn't stop being an awesome and beautiful temple of a house. My storage room, that's not really a storage room. That's potential right there. Your embodiment, it's not a storage room for your trauma. That's what you've been taught. You're just going to store up trauma. And that's life. No, it's not. Your embodiment is not a gift shop. It's not a storage room. It's a temple of light. And that's the message. As you let it get cleaned up, work at it right now because you've got help. You've got the earth helping you. You have Source at your fingertips. You have friends like me and all the people on this call who are awake, who are doing the same thing, who are cleaning up dog poop. It's just what is. This is real. And Source is in that dog poop too, man. That's how weird this whole thing is. It's that weird. But we made it. We created this. So we could learn. So we could remember the galactic memory. And as it falls into your hands to say, hang on a second, I already know this. And then you can say, thank you. I'm so glad that I can remember. And you can thank Source and yourself and the people around you and the temple/storage room and the dogs and everybody who was involved in your life, whether they were pleasant or not, whether they were opposite of you in consciousness or right beside you or a little similar. It's all there to show you the illusion of the pillar as it dissolves in the storm. Whew. That's where we're at right now. Okay. Let me take some questions. I like to talk for that hour about what's happening, bring it from the personal to the universal. What's happening with you? What is the questions coming up at the moment? Lisa's saying, I've heard that our soul's records are being changed while we're here to be able to make changes in humanity. So let me clarify. There's two types of records when it comes to humans, Lisa. There's the DNA record, and then there's the soul's history. And the soul's history, some people call it like the Akashic Library or whatever. It's the same. The DNA history is very different. It's being inherited down the line. That's why when we wake up in these bodies, we become conscious and we're like, where the heck am I? Because you're surrounded in the trauma trash bags of your ancestors. That's what we're changing. Your soul's history doesn't change. You've been doing things all these eons, and that's all there for you. And you'll remember more the more you clean up the DNA. The DNA is the temple becomes storage for trauma. Okay? And as you make changes to that through processing and meditation, then you remember this, the soul's history, and that will inform the things that you're doing to help humanity evolve. That's how it works. It's that straightforward. It's not more complex than that. So I hope that helps, Lisa. Yeah, Carrie's noticing a lot of synchronicities. This is good. This is a clue. What is this clue really about? Well, it's about when there's synchronicities, deja vu, dreams that come true, visions that come true. That means that you're getting this DNA house more and more clean, and you're able to recognize that you're on the right track. You're navigating consciousness correctly for you and your soul. It's going to be different than anybody else's. Your navigation is unique, but it's a clue that you're on the right track. That you're speeding right through the book of your life when you have synchronicities show up. So it's a good clue. The dimensions are more and more available to you. You're getting your DNA house cleaned up. You're remembering more of your galactic and soul history. Deja vu will happen. Your dreams will be very real. That's a clue. And we leave ourselves clues all the time. I'll show you a silly one that I left myself. I have a birthmark. Let's see if I can get it up in here. On my hand, oh, there it is. You can kind of see it. It looks like a human. And I look at it every day. It's on my left hand. Every day of my life, I've had this amazing birthmark of the human. No wonder I became an anthropologist. I love humans. I'm here to do work for the humans and human consciousness. And so I left myself this hilarious little clue to remind me of why I'm here. I came for the humans. I came for the DNA. That's what I care most about. It's what I've always cared about for millions of years. But I left myself this hilarious little clue. You have other clues too. What are they? Think about that. It's kind of fun to go back and think of all the clues you left yourself about who you really are and why you're here. Fun clues. So Michelle is saying, I get a lot of pain and stiffness where my spine meets my skull. I feel its energy getting stuck. Yes, totally. Right now I'm feeling it, that pinch and that like stuckness in my lower back where it's related to empowerment. And so where is this spot related to? Your body will hold energy in spots where it's trying to give you a hint about what's going on. So if somebody has a stagnant liver, there's a lot of hidden anger there a lot of the time, right? Or the feminine body, their power center is the root. So my lower back being stuck makes me feel like I'm not empowered right now, because I've been going through all this stuff, looking at how unawake I've been in this unawake person's mind as they left my house. And so feeling a bit disempowered, I'm admitting that out loud because I got to process it, but I'm welcoming it. I'm just learning from it, right? But here, so Michelle, I would argue that this is a clue about, because it wants to go up through the crown. It's kind of the opposite problem. You're feeling disempowered from being able to connect to source and the universal. So welcome that disempowerment from being able to connect to source. Just keep welcoming it, noticing it, asking it what it can tell you. Take your consciousness there, see what can be seen. There'll be random stuff. It's very subconscious. I think that subconscious cleanup technique will help you if you're feeling tension there. Anybody? It's because there's some junk in the subconscious that needs to be seen, acknowledged, processed, and allowed to be cleared through meditation. So give that a shot. All right, so Joe says we've got our strengths and our weaknesses, yet there's no real weaknesses. Those are built in, so we can continue to seek counsel. Working together is the best strength of all. 100%. I agree with you. We all need to seek counsel. I seek counsel. The reason is because no matter how good of a seer you are, you can't see yourself very well. It's been like my one weakness. My teacher likes to kind of tease me a bit about that, because it takes my ego, my psychic ego, down a bunch of notches when she reminds me very clearly, hey, you can't see everything. You're not the end all be all of seers. And that helps me to stay humble. And I enjoy getting my ego taken down a notch, y'all. You gotta kind of be brave with that sort of thing. That's my teacher. But not everybody's teachers are like that. And so, for example, if you'd like to come to seek counsel from me or anybody else, but you need something gentle, that's certainly going to be available. But for me, I'm a warrior. I'm very fearless. So I chose a teacher who's a warrior and very fearless, and she keeps me in shape. It's really important for me. Otherwise, I could get way out of hand with my ego. I know that for sure. Good. All right. So Diane's saying, I'm getting messages from guidance to remember being Atlantean by embracing the spirit of Atlantis. The reason is to give us a chance to rebuild society from the highest point of humanity we've been. Absolutely. And so we're going into the highest point of humanity we're going to be in as we become Homo Luminous, Diane. And you're quite right. Many people who are Atlantean are actually having dreams about all the Atlanteans, having built into the end of the paradigm a chance for them to recapitulate the memories of being Atlantean, the learning. And it's going to be the same for those of you who are in other eras. So if you were Lemurian, at the end of each paradigm, the Lemurians will come through your dreams, your visions, yourself to remember how to advance, right? And same with the Atlanteans and those who might come from Egypt during that era. That's my dreams are often from Egypt during the beginning of the patriarchy. So a lot of us who've been through transitions, who've been through different paradigms, we're being asked to recapitulate what we remember. And it's going to come through dreams and visions and information that happens by, and you're like, dang, that's really true, or whatever. Your soul is recapitulating. It's bringing all of what it remembers to push through the embodiment and clean up the DNA so we can rebuild while still being us during this paradigm shift. You're right on the money, Diane. Just don't resist anything. There's nothing you have to do. Just welcome it. Ask. I intend to fully remember. I'm putting that out there in the field. Anything grows in the field if you put it out there and release it, if you want it to. So put it out there for yourself. Hey, I'm really fully open to remembering everything I need to in divine timing from the Atlantean era or Lemurian era or Melchizedek era or Egyptian eras, whatever you remember best, whatever's coming up for you. So Colette's noticing that she's feeling more and more of the frequency of things in her environment, like being in a fog. Yeah, for sure. Especially in the United States or in Western countries right now, there's quite a fog of energies and it's very intense. It's very heavy. So I want to show you a technique real quick to help you clear the fog, to know what's yours, what's there for you to deal with, and what's not. And you can do this as often as you like. It works wonderfully. Just ask your heart field, dear heart, please let anything that needs to shift using my field to go up, down, and out. Now, it's free to go. It can't stay. If it's not for me to deal with, it can't stay, but it's got permission to use your field to move around. A lot of that stuff is just kind of needing to use your gravitational electromagnetic field that's moving all the time. It needs it to shift or to move somewhere else. That's what many of you empaths are. You're here to help clean things up. So just ask, dear heart, please let everything that's not here for me to deal with directly go up, down, or out now. And then take a deep breath. And you can feel it. All this stuff, it'll go up, down, or out, wherever it needs to go. And then there's this clarity. And then whatever's left that's meant for you to look at more carefully, usually an emotional process around trauma or ego, it'll remain. Notice it, ask where it is in your body, feel it, welcome it, be willing to learn from it. Dissolve it by fully welcoming it. It cannot hurt you. It's just frequency. Get to know it. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's anger. Some of the things we've discussed. And then as you let it move through, it's just moving through because it needed you to be able to see it and know it and learn from it. And as it moves through, then you're going to feel a release because right before the release is when it's the most uncomfortable. So when you hit that wall of terror or fear, you're right on the money. Don't stop. Then you let that terror move through. Welcome the terror. Welcome the fear of the grief or the anger. Let it burn through. Sometimes it feels really uncomfortable. Sometimes it burns. Sometimes it feels really cold. A lot of people have different experiences of it, but you'll feel a release. And then everything is open. And that's when you want to fill it with light by meditating or praying. And that's what you do. And you keep doing it. But remember, when you're feeling especially foggy, maybe go to a restaurant or a public space, you're feeling the frequency of everything and it's like this wild fog. Do the same thing. Command it to use your field to move up, down, or out, but it can't stay. It's got to go do its thing. And then you'll see what's there for you to deal with, that you're being asked to deal with. Good. So keep trying that. I've seen it work very well for a long time. So Julie says, during meditation, I've had a strong pressure at the top of my ears where my ear meets my skull, right there. I feel like it's a grip. Is it divine energy, stuck energy, or your hearing aids? Probably all of the above, right? Hey, guess what, Julie? Hearing aids are divine too, just like you. Everything's made of source. Isn't that funny? So, yes, of course, if it feels like pressure or a grip and you're resisting it, it's not going to go away. But if you welcome it, notice it, allow it, put your consciousness there, make yourself very small and say, what is there? What's trying to show me something? There's a grip here. It's around your eyes, right? So it's at the same level as the eyes. Clues, there's clues about all this stuff. I'm just doing deduction here, not just seeing. Okay, not everybody's going to do super high level psychic seeing, although all of you, every single one of you, is psychic. That's human nature. Just like you can smell, you also have a third eye. You're all psychic. But that might not be the top skill that you've developed over eons. That's okay. Deduce. Use your deductive logic here. That's why we're scientists, not just spiritual seekers. Right? So just deduct. So it's here, but it's also in this area of my body. And ask yourself, when I put my consciousness here, what's some of the first things that come up around your fears, around your desires in your life? Fear and desire are two sides of the same coin. We'll fear that we won't get the things we desire. We'll fear itself. It's part of our human experience. So just noticing that. Energetically, for me, that feels like something stuck when I'm feeling into where you're at the moment, right? Inquire into it. It cannot hurt you. It's just frequency. Just allow it, notice it, inquire into it. See what shows up in your mind when you put your consciousness there. Anything goes. There's no wrong way to see. A lot of you shut your third eye down because you think that what you're seeing is wrong. There's no wrong way to see. Seeing is weird. It gets really weird. And you're not supposed to always make sense of everything you see. That's not possible. 99.9% of what I see, I will never understand fully. Give up trying to make sense of everything you see. And then you'll see better. Because you're trying too hard. You're resisting. Just relax. Let it show up for you. What are you wearing that's keeping this pressure here? What are you afraid to see, Julie? What are you afraid to hear? Think about those things. Good. Yeah, Caroline's pointing out how weird time is right now, right? Time is very strange. Don't try to make sense of it. It's going to get really fast and really slow and back and forth. Time is becoming more and more timeless. I've been missing days. Like I have to keep checking on my calendar too. I can't live without an alarm because I can't function. Don't resist it. Timelessness, you need to process time. This is something my teacher literally just said to me the other day. She's like, you need to process time. How do you process time? You got to welcome the feeling of not having enough time or having too much time or being bored or being rushed. Because it's all timeless. There's no time. Time's an illusion. There are no timelines. There's only an ocean. And each choice is a tiny flux of difference in your navigation of the ocean of consciousness. And that tiny little flux turns into grand, massive changes over time. So it's each moment that's most precious. If you're worrying about time, go in and process that. Welcome your worry. Welcome the feeling like there's not enough time, because there is. And it's all divinely perfect in timing. If you weren't sure about that, then recapitulate your life that got you to this moment talking with me today, which I'm so grateful you're here. Good. So some people are having trouble remembering their dreams, and that's normal. I would simply just ask, hey, I'm open to remembering my dreams, and just set it out there, because your body may have had nightmares when you were younger and shut all that down because it was afraid, right? So there might be some energy there, a fear about remembering dreams, because a lot of dreams are really intense. Feeling the death of an entire city under a 10,000-foot wave was extremely horrifying. Remembering that has been very hard, but it's really important, and it's exactly what I needed to know right now. Because I can emotionally process that horror, I'm able to find the juicy nuggets of what I'm supposed to learn from that dream, what I'm supposed to remember right now from that past life. And ask for these things to come through vision. Ask, my friends, ask, and you shall receive. But don't ask with expectations. Don't expect to suddenly remember your dreams perfectly, okay? Ask without expectation, because otherwise Source doesn't have enough wiggle room beyond your consciousness to present you with cool stuff. I'm going to say that again in a slightly different way. Expectations cause what's possible to be very narrow according to what your human mind is capable of. When you go in and you don't expect what you're imagining you're asking for, you just ask, I would like to remember more. It will unfold in beautiful ways that you yourself as a human weren't capable of imagining. When you give Source 100% trust that it's going to give you exactly what is needed in consciousness in ways that you can't imagine, then you will receive much more, because it won't fit into this little narrow box of what your mind is capable of experiencing. That's why I say, I don't understand, and I never will. Elizabeth will never understand 99.9% of what I see. That's true, because I don't expect to understand or know this stuff anymore. I do what I am able to do, illuminate what needs to be illuminated, to see what needs to be seen. Never what I expect as Elizabeth. That's too small. That's too narrow of a beam of light. The breath of light, when I release my ego from being in charge, she gets to go sit on a lawn chair with a margarita at the edge of the universe. I let my ego go do their thing and stop trying to control what I see. Stop trying to know it. Stop trying to understand it. It's not the job. Drop the expectations, and you'll be able to receive more in ways you could have never guessed. Because Source is so much more creative than one individual consciousness being run through a human body who's all traumatized. Good. So Visual Thinker asks, during meditation, I'm here to bridge the star people, the galactics, with the tribal native beings on the planet. The natives have a strong connection to them for leadership. This is our future. Yeah, absolutely. As we come into what's the Homo Luminous paradigm, we're being invited in the long run to step into that position of equanimity with many of our ancestors who helped create the original experiment and bring to the table with equanimity what we've learned as humans. That's exactly correct. They are not our leaders. It's now our chance to step into leadership for the next coming galactic level paradigms, of which we will inform that whole galactic federation of the greatest things we've learned. The top 3 being consent. Not all of the beings on that council understand consent. Consent, unconditional love, and universal compassion will be the top 3 informative energetics we will get to share in council as leaders at the galactic level. That's what's coming in the long run. That's what we're shooting for. And yes, of course, our native ancestors of the natives of all of the different places of the world remember all of this. It's like that satchel coming out of the fake pillar. Well, this is really cool and it's been hidden, but I actually remember all this. I don't need to read these. That's what's happening to us so that we can push into this final stage of equanimity, and we'll know we're ready when the masculine and feminine have healed their relationship and the golden doorway of the divine masculine and feminine work together to open into the next paradigm. That's how we'll know, is when the masculine and feminine have finally healed all of their issues here on Earth, and they're ready to work together side by side as equal, equanimity-based partners in consciousness, and then we act together in divine order to open the galactic paradigm. That's the long run. And that's right on track. Excellent work, everybody. We're working at it. We still have work to do, but we're right on track. So Patricia says, I'm very lightheaded when I walk. I'm adapting. I ground. I ask for angelic support. Any messages? So, whenever somebody asks a question, it's for everybody. If you're having trouble grounding, if you're having trouble with the energies, if you're feeling lightheaded all the time, and you're asking for help, you're asking for stabilization, that means you're on the right track. But Patricia, something you haven't done fully is welcoming destabilization itself. Lightheadedness itself is precious. It's got information in it. You need to fully welcome what you need to learn from destabilization and lightheadedness. Go into it, notice it in your body, welcome it, don't resist it. It's trying to tell you something. I can't tell you what that is. You're supposed to look at this and merge with this. You need to merge with destabilization on behalf of all human consciousness. Whenever we do any of this work, we're doing it on behalf of all human consciousness. You're doing it so it's available for everyone. I clean up that house and learn compassion for someone who's caused a lot of problems in my life in the past month. But that healing was for all of us. It's not for me. It's for everyone. Just as you merging with destabilization, there's something really important there that you need to understand. Look right into it, feel it fully, walk into it, allow yourself to fully feel it, and it will reveal itself to you. So Belinda had to have a full hip replacement 6 weeks ago. And in the feminine body, the hips are very much the power center of the feminine. So what is that symbolizing? A full hip replacement. Maybe from both, maybe just one side. It doesn't matter. But what that is saying is the end of a paradigm, the end of being a second-class citizen because you're a woman. It's the end of a type of femininity, Belinda. It's the end of a type of being feminine. It's the end of an era and the beginning of something new being rebuilt. That's the clue being hidden in your hips. It's the end of an old feminine paradigm, which often included competition and other stuff between women. So what is it that ended? You need to sit down and really think about that. What has ended for my feminine empowerment, and what is being recreated? You're in between two places, the end of something and the beginning of something new, but it has to do with feminine power. So think about it from that perspective and see what shows up over the next 6 weeks as you heal. And may your hips be fully healed and full of light, revealing everything that is needed to be known by you about your femininity and its big paradigm shift now. Good. So I love that Alfred's pointing out an energy healer can help with subconscious clearing. Absolutely. And make sure that any healers you're working with are helping you, empowering you to do that work for yourself. Don't let anybody do stuff for you anymore. You know, there's one thing, you go in and you need some help, right? You need some surgery, like Belinda, or maybe you need a massage. You can't do that for yourself very easily. But there's a lot of things, especially processing, that you need to be empowered to continue to do. So get the techniques you need from these healers. Ask for healers who can empower you to heal yourself to come and help you out. And don't let anybody just do stuff for you. It's okay to receive, of course, but also learn how to keep doing it so that it doesn't create dependency. That's an old paradigm we're leaving behind. But get help. Get help for your subconscious, maybe a hypnotherapist who can help you go through things for yourself too. There's lots of ways to get that support. And by golly, we all need it, me including, all the time. We need each other right now. Good. So Genevieve is wondering about feeling connected to Source. She feels this big block with the connection to Source. So Genevieve, you want to, this is for everyone, right? It's really, really important for you to sit with that disconnect. Merge with the disconnect from Source. It's an illusion. It's no different than that fake pillar in my dream that dissolved during a storm, right? That disconnect from Source is something you're being asked to look at right now. It's there for you. Notice it, see it, feel it fully. You need to look at this. That's what's in your attention right now. And we're like so distractible. Be like, oh, there's this disconnect to Source, but I really want to be connected to Source. But that's not what you're being asked to look at. But I want to be connected to Source. That's you resisting being disconnected, which is an illusion. Look carefully at this illusion. Look carefully at the illusion. See it, feel it, know it. Understand disconnect from source. Merge with it, and you'll find the change happens where you don't feel disconnected anymore. But it will only happen when you fully understand disconnect. Okay? Run with this. It's for you. You're doing this in consciousness. Do it and be wise. Don't turn away to look at what you desire. Follow your fear and you'll get higher faster. Follow your fear and you will get higher faster. Good. So Chris is saying, for months I've been welcoming exhaustion and overwhelm as an invitation to stillness. But now feeling massive inertia as I try to move back into action. Not sure how to take my next steps forward. Chris, stop worrying about the future. That's your first step, because you just leak a whole bunch of energy out into the future. Okay? Let me give you a different way to see where you're at. And I think that was very wise, welcoming exhaustion as an invitation to stillness. Yeah, there's a bunch of juicy tidbits you got out of that. It was key. Now there's this inertia. But then we tend to lose ourselves in that, and we'll run our consciousness out into the future. So think of an XY axis. Remember back in high school when we did algebra, right? The X and the Y, this is the X axis here, and here's the Y axis, right? Well, you are hanging out right at the center of that, okay? And normally our consciousness will want to run things way out into the future, or they'll run things way out into the past and be like, oh, I'm really worried that all that will happen again. I'm really worried I might get exhausted again. What do I do with all this energy? What are my next steps? What's my purpose? That's us leaking energy into the future or the past, and you can't do action on that. You can only do action here at the center in the moment, in that, and it's not even fully stillness, it's pure energy, right? That's where all the power is. Power is light. You're not going to find light out in the future because you can't go there physically, mentally, emotionally. You can only guess. You're not going to find light in the past for the same reasons, right? You're just going to leak energy. Instead, use your consciousness to go up and down, to zoom in and out of reality. If you're not sure what the next step in that moment is, then zoom out, go up along the Y axis. What can I perceive from a greater vantage point? Use your imagination to kind of zoom up and above your body and your situation and say, Source, what's the right next step? And contemplate it, meditate on it, let it unfold. The right next step doesn't always just show up miraculously, though that happens, of course. Or you zoom in deeper into a situation, go into your body, go into the situation and say, Source, what's the right next step? But catch yourself trying to think about the future or the past. Bring your consciousness back and then zoom in and out into reality to perceive your situation as it is now in divine timing. And then ask for guidance from there. And you'll feel it in your heart, you'll know it in your gut, and you'll perceive it with your amazing mind and your third eye. And that will be then the right next step. That's how I work with time. That's how I discern what is the right next step. Am I correct all the time? No. Nope. I ate a bunch of processed food last night and ended up waking up with hives this morning. Was that the right next step? Definitely not. So that's how it goes. I learned my lesson. Processed food is a no-go. Good. All right, so Janine says, sometimes I think God is a stand-up comic trying new jokes in the theater of my life. Hard to take this source seriously when I see ironic setups everywhere and hear gentle chuckles in the clouds. But Janine, you've separated yourself from yourself. That's been you the whole time. Can you welcome being the creator that you are? This is something that happens in consciousness as you get higher and bigger and wider and more one with everything. There's a ceiling at each triad of the dimensions. And there'll be a cognitive dissonance that will define that ceiling. So you've hit the cognitive dissonance of the sixth dimension, the formlessness and the form toggling. Am I formless or am I form? Is there source God versus me or what? That's the cognitive dissonance. How could God let these things happen? These terrible things. How could God let that happen? But you created it. Here's a good example. I didn't just get victimized by my tenant while she left my beautiful house completely destroyed in every inch of my entire property. I created that. God didn't let that happen. I am source, and so is she. And we created this as souls who decided that this was going to be part of the story where our paths crossed, and this occurred for the greatest learning possible. Will it be learned right away? No, not always. Sometimes not even in one life. Sometimes we have lessons like not being heard when you know something terrible is going to happen, right? That's a lifelong lesson, but it's also a lesson that's come through many eons that I haven't fully finished learning about. So some of these lessons, your distrust, your anger with source is valid. And we can turn that around and say, well, how do you distrust yourself? How are you angry at yourself? We have co-created all of these things together. We've co-created the paradigm. We've co-created the patriarchy. We co-created the experiment in consciousness. We're not victims of it. You created it and you're doing it now. And instead of a jail, I've chose to perceive this as paradise. To go into the walls of the jail to find out the truth. It was all made of light. And so as you're toggling formlessness and form, you need to welcome the formlessness because it's going to lead you into the highest dimensions of formlessness where you'll realize it's all paradise, Janine. The whole thing. And that you are source. You are laughing as well as suffering. It's not separate from you, it is you. That's really hard. It can be very painful because so many terrible things have happened to us. But because we can perceive the oneness of reality, we are not victims. So we can leave that polarity of victim tyrant behind. We can bring it to rest by recognizing all along I have been all of these things. It's tough. These cognitive dissonance ceilings and each triad are very real and they cause a lot of mental confusion because you're trying to do it with your mind. And you can't. Your mind cannot grasp what I just said. It's your soul, it's your heart that grasps it. It's that from which you reach out into oneness. It's from the heart that you go through to the sixth, seventh, and eighth dimension, and the ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensions, okay? Not from your mind, not from perceiving with your mind that you're separate from God. You're not. Good. So Beth is asking, I am intending for my throat chakra to clear for light language. I know this is a small adjustment. Any thoughts? Just intend. Richard Rudd has this whole program around contemplation. I really like it because he uses the source field as a garden. He puts the intention out there and lets it do its thing. Beth, just don't control anything. Don't try to control it. That's another trap we get into, that we can control stuff. No, you can't. There's very little you have control over. You are a creator. That's different than being in control. I'm going to say that again because I got to hear this too. You are a creator. That is very different than being in control. When you plant a seed, you don't know always if it's going to bloom or exactly what it will look like. That's not the job. The job is to create, to cultivate the garden of your experience, which is affecting everything else, because you are coming from source direct. It's different than being in control. So take your intention and plant it in the seed of source and let it unfold, and don't expect how it will look or sound. Let it unfold. That's the only thing you have to do, is be patient, be conscious, be present, and it will unfold in miraculous ways. So I'm noticing people are asking a lot of questions about their bodies right now. All of your bodies are going through a lot. Okay, so let's think about this. Let's think about what's happening with our bodies. I want to notice that. And let me address Janine's response here, because she says, is there a quick and easy way to staunch that yeah, but commentary that argues against trusting the unfolding in source? Oh, I love that. Thank you, Janine. Yeah, but, right? So think of it in terms of compassionate communication. I love you, but doesn't work, right? I love you, but then the person doesn't really 100% mean it when they say I love you, because they added the but at the end of it, right? So how do we really allow someone to hear the truth? I love you. No buts about it. So what's that part of you, Janine? And we all have it, right? It's an ego part who's been traumatized, who says, yeah, but God's a jerk. Yeah, but look at all these horrible things that have happened where I have truly been a victim of something terrible, right? That's a traumatized version of you who's hanging on to this thing that has hurt them so much, and they need you to see it. They need you to know it and feel it, because they don't feel heard. It's not your soul who's talking. The yeah, but is a traumatized version of you who needs you to hear them. So separate yourself a little bit from them. It's totally safe and normal to do that. Say, I'm the soul in charge and I hear you, yeah, but how old are you? What are you wearing? What do you need right now? Because the what are you wearing separates you from them and lets that version of you come through so they can finally be heard. Yeah, but these terrible things happened to me and I'm in pain. I hear you. Tell me more. What do you need me to know right now? What do you need right now? I need to be heard. I need someone to hear the yeah, but part about what's going on. When I was 7 years old, when I was 17, when I was 27, when I was 37. I need to be heard. This part of you didn't go anywhere. He or she is stuck here in your subconscious. So you notice them. Okay, yeah, but what are you trying to say? Let me hear it. So then we do compassionate communication to the traumatized version of yourself. I hear you. These terrible things happened with your father, your stepfather, your mother, your stepmother. These terrible things happened with you at school. I hear you. I hear you and I love you. It's the soul who can say, who can mirror back through compassionate communication what the person is saying. The yeah, but is part of you needing you to be compassionately communicating to it as the soul in charge. Once they are heard, the yeah, but will stop. Let them be heard. Talk to them. Hear what they have to say. Mirror it back to them. Don't add any buts. Don't add any ands. Don't add I. Just mirror it back. I hear you. These things happen to you. That's it. And when they finally relax in your subconscious, then you can say, are you ready to feel fully loved now? And you can hold that part of yourself and love them. I love you. No yeah buts involved. Okay? Give that a try. It works quite well. I don't have very many yeah buts left. Good. Okay, so just noticing the body pieces coming up for folks. I'm and a need for discernment. So Tony's asking a discernment question. All these different pieces of ourselves, right? All these I wouldn't, Teresa, I wouldn't call them parallel lives so much. I'd call them just traumatized versions of yourself that are stuck, right? So that's kind of how I see it. It's like, hey, all the little Elizabeths still exist. And sometimes they're holding some pretty tough stuff and they need me, the soul in charge, to talk to them, to walk them through it, right? To heal. This is how we can empower ourselves to heal. I'll tell you what, on the replay, I'm going to make sure to put a link to my ebook about all this stuff on how you can heal your traumatized selves, right? And other things. It's called Healing the Three Minds, the Brain, the Heart, and the Gut. I'll post that ebook up for everybody for free. And a second ebook about emotional processing techniques and meditation techniques that I find really helpful. These are the stuff I do every day, and they work really well so far. And how do I know? Because we've been experimenting with these things for over a decade. So lots of people, many thousands and thousands of people have been using it, and it's been working. We're all experimenting together for our healing. So I want to share those 2 ebooks with you for free in the replay. You'll see it. And I'll send a replay email out too with the links as well so that you can get all that stuff. I'll send the replay link at the end of the day with everything up, okay? All right. So here we are around the body piece, and it's giving me a hint to, hey, our bodies need some support right now. And as for discernment, Tony, you need to notice how your brain has pros and cons about a relationship, right? And this goes for any choices. Quick discernment tool here. Notice your pros and cons, and then ask your mind to step aside, because the pros and cons is what the brain is good at. Then ask your heart how it feels about it. The heart's going to speak from experience. If it doesn't have experience about something, it might resist something because it's new. Like, a good relationship. It's new. It's like, well, I don't know what that's like, so I'm kind of scared of it. Just notice it though, because your heart is going to tell you from your heart's memory, which is the seat of your body memory, whether or not something's going to work with your human experience. And if it's afraid because it doesn't know, then acknowledge that. And then go down into the gut. The gut is the seat of the wisdom of the earth, the emissaries of the earth. The bacteria in your body want to help you survive. So if the gut tells you yes, then it says that this relationship can help you survive. If it says no or maybe, it's not so sure. It needs more info. Is this person going to really help me survive or not? You need to find out. And that's how I discern relationships, that way. To notice, what are my pros and cons? What's my heart say? What's my gut say? And then weigh it out. Will they all get along all the time? No, definitely not. But they all have different perspectives that will help you and guide you. And when they all are on board, that's when you know you're really on track with something. But relationships are challenging. And the more clear you are with your trauma inside yourself, the clearer your light is out in the world. It's not distorted by your trauma and your ego. The clearer your light is, the better relationships come to you, because your light isn't being distorted by ego and trauma. You're working on this part and the rest of it falls in place. Good. All right. So thank you. All right, let's build a pillar of light, and it's going to be for the embodiment, okay? Because we're all having body stuff going on. My back's all pinched up from cleaning and storage stuff, and people have stuff going on here and their hips and all different parts of the body right now. So I'm just kind of going to notice it and listen to it, right? We're just going to feel into that field. We're all together. And I'm asking Source, where should we build this pillar of light? And if you haven't done it before, it's really easy. And once you do one, you can do as many as you like. I'm asking where do we need to go right now? Where would the earth like us to build this pillar? And I'm getting the sense of, for the support of the continued very swift evolution of the human embodiment. We're feeling the aches and pains of being Homo sapien, y'all. I keep seeing a swamp, actually. I'm getting pulled out into the Everglades, which are the kidneys of one of the kidney centers of the earth. So the kidneys are filter organs, and they filter out a lot of junk, and they work really hard for us. And the kidneys also hold a lot of energy, like fear. That's where the adrenals are. So when we have ongoing constant fear, like we have for a long time, not just this past year, much longer than that, ongoing constant fear. We have been at war. The United States has been at war for most of my life. Constant fear really messes up your adrenals, right? And we've had some trouble down there in the Everglades, as there's so much glyphosate that comes through all the farmland of the United States. It causes these big cyanobacteria blooms that literally can kill you. And it's just one of those big clues that something needs to give. So let's build our pillar out in the middle of the Everglades. It's pretty wild out there. It's a big, huge kidney. It needs support. It's going to support our embodiment, but it's also going to support the Earth's embodiment as she cleans up, because she's processing a lot too, just like we are, okay? All right, so join me. We're going out to Florida. And just imagine us being in a big circle. We don't have to be right on the land. Maybe we're hovering just above the swamp, right? So we don't have to dip our toes in the swamp. We can just be there. It's very bright. It's very swampy. And now we're all together. There's 140 people on the call live at the moment. And anyone who listens to this later, your effort counts just as much. All right, so we're going to start at the bottom of our pillar with our gut mind. So I want you to put your hand on your belly. We're just going to ask the gut, show us what energy we need to present to create the foundation of our pillar of light, which will transmit our intentions. It's the support of the feminine embodiment, the hips, the lower back, the root, the perineum, the support of divine feminine empowerment, and the healing and support of the kidneys, the filter organs, and the adrenals of all humankind and the earth and any beings who would like this support. And we'll get to the masculine part for those of you who are asking that question. That's next. But right now we're noticing divine feminine support. All of you have had divine feminine lifetimes. It's now time for us to elevate and empower that part of our bodies that's ready to rebuild, that's ready for a new paradigm, that needs some support. So let that energy of support for that show up in your gut like a ball of light. Let it be whatever shape or color it wants to be. And then with a deep breath, let's project that to the center of our circle to create the foundation of our pillar now. Wow, that felt really good. And it's the most beautiful blue. It's very light, light, light blue, kind of this color. And it pools out like this gentle, cleansing, clear water that just cleanses the adrenals and cleanses the kidneys. And it's just cool and clear, like a beautiful well, a spring. And it just moves out across the earth for everyone. And it's almost like you want to go and drink it. Good, beautiful, beautiful. Good, okay. Let's come up into the heart. Just bring your hand to your heart. Just let your heart be noticed. This is the power center of the divine masculine. It's where those strong arms come from to lift and create and manifest. It's from the heart, the masculine power center. So this is for the healing of the heart of humankind, the healing of the embodiment, the physical embodiment, the heart. Many people have heart disease. It's because their heart's shut down. They're trying to protect their heart. They've got armor on. They wear things to protect themselves, right? So we're just noticing that. It's okay. You don't have to wear armor anymore. The divine masculine unconditional love is the best armor, the best protector, the best nourisher, the best manifester possible. The unconditional love of the divine masculine. Let it pull up into your heart to support the physical embodiment, especially of the divine masculine. Now, let it come up into the heart, and with a deep breath, project it to the center of our pillar now. And again, the most gentle energy, very fluid, very bright, like a very gentle fire of love that comes out and cleanses the heart of the embodiment. And it's a very beautiful pink to me, a light pink, very, very light, gentle fire of pink. Good. Yeah, we could stay on this one for a long time. All right, let's move up into the third eye and crown here. Just wanting to support the human mind, the subconscious, all the traumatized selves, all of the incredible mind and third eye of the human. Your eyes, your senses, your taste, your touch, your hearing, all of this being supported with the light of the human mind. Such a bright light. If you could see what your thoughts do to all of reality, my friends, we would spend all of our time on this call silently enjoying each other's minds. That's what would happen. We wouldn't even talk for 2 hours. We'd just sit here and gaze at each other in love. If you could see, I want you to see that. I'm so blessed I get to see that. And you are blessed too. You can see it too. Ask to see what I'm seeing. It's white, white light. The white light of the precious human mind that your soul shines through. Let that be an energetic, and with a deep breath, let's top our pillar with that support of the human mind with a deep breath. Yeah, that was perfect. There was tension and pain that was moving up, and every time we would do one of these parts of the pillar, it would move up, and now it's up and out and gone. Good. So we're connected to this pillar. Let's take a moment. The white light, the purity of the bright human mind, the soul running through the human mind, the beautiful, pure light of the masculine power center of the heart, the healing of the divine masculine through unconditional love, the beautiful, crystal clear spring of blue light and power that come from the feminine power center, the root and the gut, healing, helping to heal the earth, the kidneys of the earth, the adrenals of the earth, the end of fear, the end of the power over paradigm, the end of the fear of what will come from here, the end of the fear of the big changes, the big dramatic changes that we're facing. No more fear, only clarity, only remembering who you really are. You are not this body, you are not this life. You remember. Good, and take a deep breath. This pillar is for you. It's for you, your family, your friends. It's for all of humanity, all the beings that want this light. It's for the earth. And it exists in perpetuity. It will transmit our intentions endlessly until its job is done. And so let's disconnect ourselves from the pillar, from your mind, your heart, and your gut now with a deep breath. And now this pillar exists for you to come back to, enjoy, to notice, to allow, and the light that we shared is yours. Good. I feel very content right now, and I hope that you do too, my friends, that you can really notice fully with great compassion everyone and everything coming your way. To navigate consciousness now is the greatest challenge that will help you evolve deeper, faster than you ever dreamed of. Come into it without expectation, and you will not only be amazed, but you will live in a state of wonder as you become one with all things more every day, remembering that you are source. So namaste to you, my friends. I love you so much. And I'll see you on our next monthly call, which is, I always have to look, it's going to be June 27th. Same time, same place. Bring your friends. And I'll make sure to send those 2 ebooks out to you so you can get those resources and play with them and share those ebooks freely as you wish. They're free. And I'll put them in the replay underneath here as well, so you have access to them. And I just really appreciate you. What beautiful, rich questions and thoughts and ideas and hopes and healing. So much available through you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We did this together. And I appreciate you and love you. Namaste. Until we see each other again. Bye, everyone.